Howdy, y'all. Just doing my thing over here, trying to be virtually not alone in the vein of this little corner of the internet. Feel free, if you happen to see this, jump on in. Um, just join me in the chat if you'd like. If I get enough people who are like, "Hey, let's go live together," I'd be happy to share a StreamYard link, set that up. But for now, I'm just chatting while I'm working. I'm not even really going to share my screen because this stuff is probably, it's not technically that confidential, but you never know with clients. You don't want to get their ideas out there in the world if they haven't agreed to that. So I might talk about the work. I might talk about something else, but mostly I just want to get out there and start sharing. Oh, excuse me. So for the creative process, kind of that I'm in right now, I'm at this point where I'm trying to come up with some very I'm a web designer, so it's a high level background here. I design things for the web, apps, whatever. UI, user interface is my speciality. That's my stock and trade. And right now I'm working on an app that needs some basically some high level, like really beautiful looking charts and data, some graphs. And rather than just make my own, I'm going to be pulling from some pre-created component charts that exist and just try and see if I can make it look nice. The client has a pretty high bar of what they want the charts to look like. I don't mind showing some of that. They've come up with some AI generated imagery. Let's see, I'll share that real quick and see, just so I can practice sharing. Um, yeah, so they kind of shared this and were like, could you make it kind of like this? And as you can tell, it's very AI-y, but there's some fun gradients here that I'm noticing, some interesting lines. They're big into donut charts. They've got multiple things showing you going on right here. The app I'm using has more of a light background, so I'm kind of looking to this one for inspiration, but it's like, okay, I can kind of create something in that vein. So we will see. We will see what we can do here. Most of the charts that you see online, most of the charts you see on apps are a lot like this chart here. There's this kind of chart thing here where you got, some nice little gradients and stuff. This is just a chart kit. Some nice gradients, some effects when you click on them. It shows different things. You got some clear legend action, some labels and things like that. And that's good enough. I mean, this is solid, but it's just not quite as shiny as other, you know. And I think that's what they're really hoping for, is something that when you look at it, you're just like, whoa, it really kind of blows your mind. And blowing your mind with visuals is not necessarily the easiest thing. It's not really my cup of tea. Uh, you would think, well, what is another example of this stuff, to blow your mind? Dribbble is huge on in the design space for like coming up with interesting looking graphs and stuff. So I went over to Dribbble and I was like, hey, what if I created something on Dribbble, or like use dribbles as like inspiration? And all of these, even like, none of them are like what he shared with his AI generated thing. So I appreciate it. I think the AI image is sort of pushing forward the design aesthetic, maybe, but maybe it's also just totally like meaningless, because most of these things, they don't have as much gradients. They have a lot clearer lines that they use. They, this is nice. I feel like it's a consistent color and stuff. It's like, I like this palette, but you've got a little bit of gradient, soft gradient action here, but it's definitely not the like bright, vibrant style that the client shared with me. This is kind of getting closer, I think, here with these multiple gradient things happening at once. So I might try something like that. I just don't really want to spend a ton of time hand drawing graphs because they're not going to end up looking like how I draw them anyways when the developer builds them, more than likely. Because there's just certain limitations that, I'm curious. Like I have this site I use sometimes called Mobbins. You can browse apps here. I'm going to see if they've got any that are like basically charts. Here, I'm going to search here. See if I can come up with anything really. Just see what's out there. These are all in development, like live. Come on. It's taking its time searching. Wow, it's taking its time. Is there anything I can close out of? I guess I could close out of this over here. Why is it taking so long? Probably because I'm live streaming. Okay, we'll just cancel that for now. I'll share a different screen. So these are just different apps that are out there in the world. They've got some chart action going on. I'm trying to see like a data dashboard type thing. I'm not seeing one here. Oh, here's some. These charts aren't really what they're looking for either. Calm, I feel like has a high design aesthetic. We'll see what they've come up with in terms of data and charts. Actually, these are not blowing my mind. Like I'm not loving these screens. They're okay. Let's see. Hey, a little chart. Insights. Sleep history. Yeah, again, I'm not like terribly. Let's see if Strava has anything. What they do. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's not quite the aesthetic I'm looking for, but it's nice. Okay. Peloton. What have you got for us, Peloton? Where are our charts at? You must have charts. No, it's not a chart so much. Nothing. Oh, no. All right, I'm going to try searching again. Oh, I know Aura's got something. This is, oh yeah, look at, here's some sleep charts. These are okay. They're just not terribly attractive. I think I like, let's see if I can find if Mobbin has, I feel like the finance apps do a pretty good job, like Robinhood. Do they have that? No. Categories, finance, Credit Karma, no. Huh. See, kind of like this. Yeah, that one's okay. That's okay. Mint. See, Mint. I feel like Mint is actually one of the better examples of what I'm looking at. I loved Mint back in the day, and they discontinued it, but they do a good job of just showing charts that are. This looks okay. That are. They were like quality. Like they weren't. Didn't have a ton, but they were just like they were quality, and I enjoyed looking at them. Let's try searching again. Here we go. Here's a bunch of charts. I like a radial chart. I'm going to try and turn on some music. Hopefully that. Oh, that won't mind. Let's just get some music going here. Because otherwise I'll be humming Wish songs, and you guys don't want that. My kids have been doing Wish songs. It's like, come on. Not for me. It's okay. Some of them are fine. They're beautiful singing, but it's just not what I want to listen to right now. Yeah, so I can listen and you won't have to hear my music. Let's see. Now I got to worry about copywriting and all that. Actually, I'm going to listen to more of a focus music, I think. Instrumental stuff. All right. This one's interesting, this air quality one. Again, I love a donut chart, but all of these are like, they're just so flat. They're not very exciting. They're not very engaging. Pretty much every time I see this like nice gradient, this soft gradient under a line, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. This one's okay. You guys can't even see my mouse, can you? Yeah, so I'm saying this one and you don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, you can. Okay. No, you can. Definitely love Not Boring. They do some really interesting stuff, but these aren't really the charts that I'm looking for. This is kind of an interesting chart approach. It's very akin to the Apple rings. I just really want to level it up, and it's just going to take some time to do that. This is a fun idea. It's showing the sun as your indicator on the chart. If anyone's done any Tufte visual or read anything by Edward Tufte, you know that there's just such a high calling when it comes to information visualizations, and you don't want to fall short. You really want to like bring your A game. So none of these are really speaking to me. So I guess I'll just go in and to the tool itself and try and make some charts. I don't mind showing you guys the chart stuff because it's like totally irrelevant in terms of it's not going to make any kind of it's not anything that's confidential. It's just charts. Nothing. I like when a consistent color palette is chosen and kind of stuck with, like we've got shades of this green here because the colors can infer a person can infer meaning from colors if you're not careful about it. Like obviously here green and red mean something, but in this chart these colors don't mean anything. They're just different categories. Like they don't convey meaning like good or bad or something. What's this, trading view? I think the client wants something that doesn't currently exist in the wild, which is great. We got to elevate. Well, I'm not going to spend any more time on this inspiration stage. I really do need to just get into it. Let's see. Stop sharing that. Okay. I'm going to make a new data. Let's share. I'll share my screen with you. Excuse me. Okay. So here's what I have already, but I'm going to write down what I'm actually trying to do here. Start with the words, data to visualize. It's just roughly like health related data is kind of the idea. A bunch of different things that we might be able to visualize. So I'm going to say sleep. I'm going to say, I don't have to get more specific about these, but we'll say sleep. We'll say steps, blood pressure, blood sugar. I don't know what that looks like, but heart rate variability. Resting heart rate. We're gonna just see like what does the Apple Health track, and we'll just kind of like include a lot of that. Calories burned, time standing, time exercising. That's probably enough for now. I mean, those are pretty useful. Measures of health, we could add in. I don't know if we could add like nutrition levels. If we do blood work over time, we could add certain relevant nutritional markers. I guess if it's like you're getting low in magnesium, we'll just say like minerals. What's the other one? Sodium, potassium, magnesium. Calcium. because you might be able to find some interesting data out based. You might be able to correlate that somehow. Vitamin levels. I don't know. We could check that stuff too, I guess. Vitamins. Gotta make this bigger. Just trying to list out everything we might track, so then I can make sure I get a chart for like each of these things, or at least some of the major categories. Oops. Yeah, that's good. I think your blood work will show all of this. I think you probably want like heart zones, like heart rate zones. Excuse me. Like, I don't know how you tell, like, you should do some kind of weightlifting, strength conditioning, strength work. So I don't know how you like track that necessarily. You'd have to like self-report that, I think, because there's no it's not like your watch is going to tell you that you're working out. Workout, I'll just add that in. Workout journal. You could self-report that. And then like emotional journal. You could self-report how you're feeling throughout the day. All right. So we've done all that. We've listed out what we could actually track. I think you're going to need to break down, like show you your key metrics up front. But rather than jump right into this, I'm actually going to move this over here. And we'll just wipe this out entirely. And I think we should say, like, let's like kind of structure this stuff first. I really like how Mint has like a... Let's pull up Mint actually. I'll just share that whole screen. Let's see if I have anything on there I don't want people seeing. There we go. That's fine. Okay. So Mint has, or it had, it no longer exists, which is sad. It's so great. It was like, why does good software have to go by the wayside, and then like kind of shoddy software keeps going? Okay, so they have these spending categories, and again, Mint wasn't like perfect, but it was pretty solid. I think what I liked most about Mint is you could kind of drill down into stuff pretty well. Okay, these are the screens. Okay, so the main screens that I'm interested in are these data screens, like this, your monthly category. Excuse me. Excuse me. Like this, yeah, you could kind of swipe among the different options, and then you could see like different categories within that, which is nice. Excuse me. All right. I think the main thing you care about here, so we're dealing with an iPhone size screen, and I'm starting with the smallest screen size possible. So that just means we don't have a ton of room here. So I think we should do... I'm going to try and move quickly because really the name of this game is speed. I don't want to spend all day on this stuff. I mean, I do want to, but I've got other things. Like if I can't move quickly, like that's sort of the thing that I'm the worst at, is moving quickly. Like I want to be getting better at being fast because I care about it being good, but I don't really care about it like being done quickly, like just on a personal, like natural level. So, but if I don't do it quickly, then I'm just screwing myself because I'm leaving money on the table ultimately. All right, so quickly, the main things that we should have here. I think the most, okay, we're asking a pretty philosophical question here, and that's what I love about UI design, is we're making very grand judgments, and we're being forced to articulate them in very precise ways. Like we have to make choices here. This is the main screen. You land on the data dashboard thing, and it would probably called something else. This is just a temporary name, but you land here. It's like, what should you see first? You know, should you see your albumin levels first? Probably not. Why? Why not? Because that's not terribly actionable information. Ultimately, what you really want is sort of a nested set of like hierarchical values. Like that's super vague. I just mean like you don't want like the super low level detail of like on May 3rd, 2022, my albumin level was 27 micromilligrams per liter or whatever. That would be that would be too fine of a detail that you would not have any use for. It wouldn't tell you anything meaningful. So if that's the farthest end of what you want, what is the most meaningful thing that you could do? Like, what's the most meaningful for your health? That's also not over prescriptive. Let's say you get something that gives you so much signal, but it's signal in the wrong direction. Like if you had a blazing bright indicator on here that just said like something awful, like you have cancer, like, and that's not true, that would be also problematic. Tons of signal, but it's incorrect. It's inaccurate. So you need something that's accurate and high signal. And that signal is answering the question, what should I do about my health? If anything. And the reality is, most often, the thing you should do is probably nothing, because you don't want to over intervene in your own health. That's actually more problematic in lots of cases. If like, you shouldn't be encouraging surgery or like interventions that are worse than what currently is happening. So, anyways, those are all pretty philosophical or like heavy questions that we all kind of have a feel for. There's a tolerable range. It's kind of like an Overton window of like, here's the things that are like, if we get too far out this way into the overly detailed, fine, nuanced data point, not very useful. If we get too far off this way into the high signal, but it's inaccurate, not very useful. It's got to be somewhere in the middle to be useful, but it can't. And I'd almost rather err on the side of like making the person do the correlations, make the connections themselves. It's like you could show, but this is all so personal. It's all so dependent on the person's needs. So maybe it's like we should have an option, maybe there should be like an option to edit this stuff and to create their own views, to have it personalized for them. So let's see here. Excuse me. This is too slow. I'm literally just looking for an icon that I was going to grab and bring over, and this is taking way too long. This should have been super simple. Anyways, that was the icon I wanted. So you're going to need some kind of like personalized thing. Let's make this like this. So you can maybe arrange things, but you also don't want to make it so like there's personalization and there's customization. We should be able to personalize it naturally for you based on some inputs. Like if you tell us you have a certain disease, maybe we should even start this whole page by like personalizing it. So what are some personalization criteria? Personalization criteria include disease profile, which is so multivariate. If you have like 3 different diseases, now all of a sudden it's like, what do you show that person? Anyways, I'll just assume maybe we're dealing with one disease. Disease profile. You could do self-selected areas of interest. Like for instance, I'm interested in blood pressure or glucose, blood sugar, or sleep or something. You could say, you could point to area, disease profile. You could allow self-select goals, lose weight, get strong. Everybody wants to lose weight and get strong. It's like longevity, healthy lifestyle, active, geriatric, active for grandkids, that kind of thing. Mobility. Okay, so those are some ways you could personalize, and then of course you could customize. I think we're going to make some decisions for people about what they essentially, like, what they find relevant or interesting or useful. By default, I think the number one thing is honestly sleep. Like, they always talk about the 3 pillars. It's like sleep, activity, and nutrition. Those are the 3 pillars of health. I think sleep is most important in those 3, especially in our modern era. So I'm going to put that first. So, okay, you want to know something about your sleep. How's my sleep quality? And then what can I do to make it better? And then you want to know something about your nutrition. I think is honestly the next best and most important thing for most people. And then your activity. Honestly, nutrition is pretty simple in some respects. In some respects, it's not so simple. We call this activity. So these are like your primary things you care about. But you could add different widgets into that if you wanted to. I'm going to say we're going to max this screen with 7 things. There's going to be we'll say 9. There's going to be no more than 9 things on this screen. I think these are the big areas, and then you get like little areas. And let's make this. You do like blood pressure and resting heart rate. I don't know, heart rate variability, I think, is more important than resting heart rate. Resting heart rate, you can't really change over time. It doesn't really give you much insight. I mean, you can just know that sucks. My resting heart rate's too high. Let me go do some activity. I think magnesium is one that a lot of people are low on. Like, I feel like magnesium, vitamin D are 2 pretty big ones in terms of supplements and nutrients. I guess that could be under nutrition, though. So this is not nutrition or activity. This would be, let's say, workout journal. Workout journal and emotional journal. Call it a feelings journal. How you're feeling. That's pretty important too, I think. So it's like you track these things. If you can have these things all kind of working in your direction, you'll be pretty healthy generally. Like you'll be like 80%, 95%. I mean, if you have a disease, okay, that's important too. But if you can get these things headed in the right direction, I feel like you're in business. I add blood pressure. That's maybe not as important as it's more important to me, but maybe that's not as important as other people. What's something you could do with blood sugar? I feel like it's like there's something related to like when you eat food late in the day, or like isn't there like a speed at which the blood sugar is metabolized or something that's like pretty important, like metabolic metrics, blood sugar, glucose data indicators, biohacking. I'll just type all that into Google and see what comes up. Glucose monitoring. Okay, so yeah, we got this article on glucose monitoring, but what actually introduce? Okay, blood sugar spikes after meals. So what are we actually looking for here? The spike, and then what happens? Glucose data. What does this do? Excess glucose. I guess like blood sugar spikes. How to interpret continuous glucose monitor results. Oh, that's from 2018. I don't know if I want that. I want something. So you got a CGM. Now what? This is for diabetes, folks. Here's some nice charts. Ooh, I like these charts. Key metrics. 14 key metrics. Great. That's a lot. Time in range. Glycemic variability. Okay. The first priority. Okay, that's what I care about. To reduce the time spent below range, work to eliminate hypoglycemia. And then focus on decreasing time above range or increasing time in range. So maybe like time in range is the number one. Okay, so this is saying too low, too high. Time in range. I gotta confirm that actually is important. Time in range. Glucose. Excuse me. Time in range glucose monitoring. Okay, it's good for people with diabetes, but what about if you don't have diabetes? Let's define it. Sometimes these, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what it says. Great, that's what I want to know. Without diabetes. Great. So what's the range? Growing interest. Without diabetes. No guidelines. For individuals with diabetes, there's the time and range. Time and tight range is even more important. Without diabetes. Yes. Okay, so welcome to being a designer. You're going to be knees deep in an academic article about continuous glucose monitoring, because the last thing you want to do as a designer is to design an interface that tells someone, like, you need to make a change to your lifestyle based on these readings, and that is false. Like, you don't want to tell someone, like, have you tried changing your perfectly fine normal lifestyle because your like glucose monitor is saying you're outside of range and that matters, but actually it doesn't matter because you didn't do the research to actually understand the underlying fundamental reality. Like, this is design. It doesn't seem like it, but this is design. So okay, let's see. I like to just jump to the conclusion. The discussion is nice. Okay. It's important for a bit of with diabetes to beware with CCM among individuals with normal glycemia may include substantial time above and even acute periods. Okay. However, other studies have observed participants without diabetes achieving glucose greater than using these different methods or these different trackers. They exclude individuals with obesity in the other study, and the participants were relatively younger. So we're saying, like, nobody knows. Let's see. Is there an actual result that you can bank on? I love these like scientific health, like medical documents. They're basically like, we did this and we don't know about this, and there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't trust this, and probably don't. It's probably pretty much useless, but maybe this one sliver of information is actually relevant, and like we discovered something. So let's see what the actual sliver is. Here's all the ways it did not work. Which I appreciate. I mean, they're being epistemically humble to a degree that we could all stand to benefit from. Like, just so going deep on the ways it probably would not. You probably should not accept their conclusions, which is good. Okay. Blinding and many patients without. Should not be viewed as normal. Oh, oral glucose tolerance test. Ooh, those are not fun. Have you ever done one? They're not fun. I've never done one, but my wife's done them for when you're pregnant. They make you do one of those to see if you're like, you have gestational diabetes. They're not fun. Oh. The strength of our study, which largely comprised individuals without diabetes, great. That's what most of the people who are using this app are going to be. More than 1,000 people without diabetes. Much smaller, healthier, including yes, good. Limited by cross-sectional. Normal. Classic. Too many whiteys. Whiteys are the only ones with the free time and the like, and their interest in doing these kinds of things. That's not true, but in a lot of times, these studies are like, we just we studied some white people because they responded. It's just like a cultural. It's funny. It's whatever. Don't need to go deeper on that. Ooh, I'd be willing to take part in a study where you need to figure out what's the influence of sex on this. Maybe that would change it. A standardizing method. So, in conclusion, time in tight range has been growing in interest as a potential target for clinics with diabetes, have achieved better glucose control. Individuals with normal glycemia, which are just everyday people without diabetes, spend 3 hours per day above that tight range. So, okay. So that tight range. So basically, what I'm gathering from this is don't create a little indicator that says if you're in tight range, green. If you're out of tight range, red. Don't do that because they're saying people with normal glycemic responses are outside of that tight range of blood glucose for 3 hours out of the day, approximately. So that would be it would be a false positive. So don't do that. Thank you. This was wonderful. 2024, very recent, fresh data, journal article, lots of people reviewing it. This is what I'm talking about. When I rag on modernism but then like there's these little pieces, you're like, this is actually pretty nice. I can appreciate that. Results. I should have just read here, but normal glycemic with a mean age of 59. So they were older, and that's good because the people that I'm hoping this app will serve are a bit older. I mean, middle-aged is really spent 87% time in this range, more than okay, 3 hours per day, more than on average. Oh, okay. So it's almost like if you're outside of that tight range for more than half of your day, you're diabetic, likely. And if you're outside of that range for more than a quarter of your day, you're probably also diabetic, which is interesting. But if you're like in that range for like 85% or more of your day, you're probably, or you're pre-diabetic, I should say. But if you're in 85% or more, then you're probably not diabetic. So that's good. So it is still interesting to track the time in tight range. But as opposed to the tight range, okay. 1.2% of their time was spent at more than 180. So like if you ignore the tight range and just say the normal range, which is 180, you would probably that would probably be useful for just tracking if you're diabetic or not, or like heading towards diabetes. And then it's like what probably people really want to know is like when you eat a certain food, is this getting me outside of the range of normal? And then like, is my blood sugar so low? Like they said at the beginning, we said it earlier, if you're hypoglycemic, you got to start with that. That's your number one priority. Or you don't have enough blood sugar. I had a diabetic grandfather, and when he did not have enough blood sugar, it was scary. Like he would get loopy. Like it was scary. So that's a challenge. That's the number one priority. All right, here's your blood sugar range, 70 to 180. If you're in that range most of the time, like 99% of the time, you're doing just fine. If you're in 70 to 140, like 85% of the time, you're doing just fine. But if you're dropping below that, problem. If you're getting above that 180 range for like more than 5% of the time, problem. If you're getting between that 140 to 180 range more than like 20% of the time, you might have pre-diabetes. And if you're doing that more than 50% of the time, you probably have diabetes. So in terms of an actual, so all of that data should be tracked, but in terms of what we actually show on the main page, probably just show, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I said I'd show 9 things. I almost feel like you need a whole blood sugar section. Maybe this should be like blood sugar. Maybe not though. I don't know. We'll keep it simple. I think 3 is a good number to start with. Whoop. Don't need all of that shared for the world to see. I don't know what that was all about. Oh, it was my... Okay. All right. So in that case, I think blood pressure is interesting because you can track that pretty regularly. I think blood sugar is maybe a little more interesting. So what are we tracking with blood sugar? Because it is continuous glucose monitoring. I think here we just say continuous glucose monitoring. And you could have, or I'll just say glucose, blood sugar. There we go. Okay. Heart rate variability. Is like stress a thing you could track? Can you track stress? No, it's so many different levels. It's hard to do. Okay. This is saying, yeah, maybe this is not so useful. Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm nervous about. People just freaking out about their stress. This is hilarious. It's not actually, but I think it is. Yeah, I feel like stress is too complex. I don't know. I don't want to do that kind of. We've got blood sugar, we've got blood pressure, heart rate variability, workout journal, feeling journal. I feel like these are good for like main page, just starting you off. Stuff you can track. I basically just want one more because of the layout here. What could we add? We could add. What's something that people want to track? Oh, maybe something related to breath work. I feel like breathing is an underrated aspect of your overall health. Maybe like time outdoors, time in sunshine, time touching grass, as they say, as the kids say. What could you do here? I'm gonna go research I have some like breathing things that I've done in the past. Just gonna check out. Um, um, what should you be tracking with your breathing? I had used to have a breath coach, so I know about this stuff. No. 4-part breath cycle. Control pause. Okay, breaths per minute. Oh, we could do that. I mean, but is there any kind of tracking device for this stuff, or do you just have to like? Maybe we could create a little thing that allows you to like use your Apple Watch app to like check your breaths per minute or something. Hmm. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find. I think the Bolt score is the best thing. Body oxygen level test. Yeah, I'm gonna add Bolt score because I feel like that's a good like breathing related. You'd have to like actually do it yourself. It's not like a passive tracking thing, but neither is the feeling journal or the workout journal. So there's that. Okay, so here's the main data dashboard, and then there's got to be like a way to like personalize it, and then there's got to be a way to like, I'm sorry, customize it. So you could change, like maybe you want these guys at the top. Maybe you could rearrange this data dashboard. Maybe you could add different widgets in that are more relevant. Maybe you could do but I think we also need like, okay, you drill down further. So then you need like a sub page for just sleep related stuff. Data dashboard. And then you need one for data dashboard, nutrition. You need one for activity. And then you need one for other. Maybe there's like a all right, I'm going to take a break for now. This has been fun. See you next time.